Hello and welcome to the Youth Initiative Scotland podcast. Thank you for joining us once again. Podcast number 8. Today, Alex Mosley joined us. Alex is a very, very gifted and creative youth worker. He has travelled the world and he's lived in many different places and has different experiences because of that. He tells us about those experiences, how they shaped him, and then how they shaped what he went on to do. It's a great story of just pushing doors and seeing what opens and going after what you feel you should go after. Alex is a great guy and a great youth worker and a great friend to many of us in youth initiatives, and many young people have benefited from his youth work. If you want to hear more about what we're doing, go to our website youthinitiativescot.com, follow us on Twitter at YISC_2018, follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Youth Initiative Scotland. Thank you for joining us once again. I hope you enjoy the show. Yes, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again. We have with us a very good show. We're looking forward to speaking to Alex Mosley about his life and experience of youth initiatives. Alex is the programme leader for the Lifeline programme in West Belfast, works on the Strive programme with different youth work organisations throughout Northern Ireland. Alex is a gifted youth worker, can do many things and is skilled in many different areas, and disappointed to see his t-shirt is bland today because I'll get a laugh out of that one.
I could probably find one in the office here, to be honest with you, Andy. There's probably multiple cupboards that have some of my t-shirt.
The best t-shirt collection in Belfast, in my opinion. So,
thank you.
Alex, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Back? A humble introduction.
Back in the office?
Back office, yeah. One of the first couple of days I've been properly actually at my desk, which means I need to clean it and tidy it. But yeah, it's been good to have a sense of feeling back familiar in a familiar place. So
good. Yes, it's nice to get back to a little bit normal. Although I kind of got used to the new normal of working from home and kids jumping on me.
Yeah, nobody, unless Cricky jumps in and jumps on me. That's my only other child that might jump in at any time. But I've locked the door to make sure he doesn't do that. So
yes, good. Thank you for joining us. So just give us a brief description. Obviously, we're talking lockdown rules. I know a little bit about what has been going on in Northern Ireland, but what has the last 3 months looked like for you?
Yeah, last 3 months has been a whirlwind in terms of just adjusting to being an online youth worker and being, I guess, still available. We've not closed in terms of my role is not closed, and so it's been a challenge. And at the same time, it's been something that has stretched my creativity. It's stretched my ability as a youth worker to engage with people, because the normal is that face-to-face ability to connect with people, and something that I've probably taken for granted in the past. And so now that we've had to do that, that has been something that I've been stretched in. And at the same time, we've brought a lot of good stuff. Our online presence has improved as a matter of just having to do more of that. And we have a lot of Zoom in our lives. That is it has its days. It has its days where it's weary, and it has its days where it's like, this is so much simpler than doing this. And it's great that we can have a Zoom call from Scotland to Belfast, and it's like any other day.
yeah, good. Yeah, it's been mad. So you've moved, your program's just moved online? Are you able to do program work?
Yeah, so we're able to do a number of program work through our online platform in terms of Zoom and things like that. This last 2 weeks has been slightly different because Northern Ireland have unlocked a number of different things in terms of being able to meet in small groups and stuff. So the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been out in our courtyard, sun or rain, and been able to just meet sort of socially distant with small groups of young people, which has been a real joy, because it brings me back to the kind of like, yeah, this is why I'm a youth worker. Because as much as the online stuff has been really good, it's also just been very different. So yeah.
Good. Well, I don't know if people are maybe guessing from your accent, but where are you from?
So weird. that is generally the question that a lot of people ask me at the very beginning. And to give you a bit of an origin story, it's like a Marvel movie, as you can see behind me. Marvel is kind of part of my life, and as Andy referenced, most of my t-shirts generally have some level of color on them. This is a very bland t-shirt, but my origin story started in London. So I was born in London, and many years ago, 1982 for those that are counting, and I lived in an area just in the outskirts of London called Eltham, which is part of Greenwich. So if you get Greenwich Mean Time, the center of the world, that's where I was born. That is not a bold claim. That is just the actual reality of geography and life. So I was born there, spent a few years there, but then my family, we moved a number of times throughout my young life and up into my teenage years to Hong Kong and China. So I, at different points in my life, lived on a beach. I lived in huts in a like island area, and I lived in like suburban London. And went to a large secondary school at one point there, with a couple of thousand people. So I very much had between the ages of 3 and 17, really, moved a number of times within that period of time to different countries and stuff. So,
yeah.
And then ended up in Ireland. So at 17. So.
Okay. Wow. So what was so it was a big school in London then. What was that school like?
Yeah, it was really diverse. If you're in London, there's a lot of diversity in terms of people groups, in terms of background. And for me, I felt like I was probably quite sheltered when I was younger, and it was quite a big eye-opening experience for me. But I had mixture of friends from across, I suppose, multiple different backgrounds, which is something actually looking back on has been one of the things that's really supported my youth work, because it's helped me to be able to engage kind of in this area. And the pros and cons of that was sometimes I didn't maybe have strong friendships. I kind of just had lots of different kind of groups and pods of people that I met with. But that was a wild experience where sometimes you'd come in and people would come into school with knives or metal bars or different things like that, and there'd be real big fights happening after school, organized fights, and the kind of like very much London scene in terms of that time was quite like that. So I managed to stay out of a lot of that, thankfully. But it was definitely awareness. My awareness of that and that side of life came from probably that first experience in high school there.
Yeah. And so did you do quite well at school if you stayed out of
that? Did I do quite well? I suppose because I moved quite a lot, obviously, you know, I was in that school for a very short time, and then we moved back to Hong Kong and China, and I was homeschooling that time. Yes, I did not wear tie-dye. I just want to put that out there. A lot of people think homeschool people are weird, and some of them are. But, you know, for me, I was kind of like, at points in life, like I was just like, I'd have my school book open, and it's kind of like maybe many of you that have gone through lockdown and had to like be responsible for your own schooling. Like it's only as much as you put into it and focus on. But I've had my school book, and then on the inside it'd be like reading the Beano or something, or like reading some level of like comic book that wasn't, you know, part of my schoolwork. So that I suppose I probably didn't apply myself as much in school. I kind of got lucky. I was crap at English. I really enjoyed PE and sports and kind of anything physical, and subjects that were practical. And I actually, you know, part of my education was done homeschool, and part in London, part in homeschool. And then I came to move to Ireland, and I did a year in a boys' school, a Christian Brothers school in Dublin. And that was a big eye-opening experience for me. I'd never been to Ireland before. And that was kind of mad. And then my last year, I moved to a boarding school. So I've had a homeschool experience. I've had a boarding school experience. I've had experience of school across countries. And I guess in a nutshell, I'm not really academic. I've much more enjoyed the social scene of being in a school experience. I suppose that has really supported me in how I do youth work. As I kind of just jack of all trades, master of none type thing. I don't kind of, I don't know how to answer that question. But
did you then, you ended in Ireland, you didn't move after that?
Yeah, so I ended up in the south, in Dublin, and then it wasn't until a number of years later that I ended up moving to the north of Ireland, to Belfast, um, to start my journey in terms of youth initiatives.
Right. And did you move to Northern Ireland for youth initiatives or
Yeah,
for?
so I guess to answer the question on like where when I met I was living in Dublin at the time, and I just graduated with a degree in electronics, just about, and this was in 2008. And I'd been voluntarily leading the youth work in our local church in an area that was called Ballyfermot. It's very, very similar to where I work in West Belfast now in terms of like demographic of people. Um, and so when I moved here, it was actually felt quite like home because I was familiar with that. But I wasn't doing that paid. I wasn't doing that as a job. I was working in a job centre at the same time, and it was just kind of a voluntary thing to me and my wife did not long after we were married. And I had this thing inside me where I was like, I really love this. I would love to get more training in this. I'd love to get qualified in this. I'd love to get paid to do this. And so it was funny, a flyer came in the door for a course up in Belfast, and we were living down in Dublin, Belfast, about 2 hours between. And we just kind of looked at this and thought, well, this may be an opportunity for me to do this. And I thought, well, I'll commute up and down for the course, and do my youth work still in Dublin. And then Keely, who's my wife, had remembered of this organisation called Youth Initiatives when she was in Belfast many, many years before. And so I did the Google thing. Their website was crap, but I managed to get in touch with these guys, and they invited me to come up and have a conversation. And so I rock up with my wife, who's pregnant at this stage, quite pregnant, and with our first child. And we rock up into this car park, and we're like, okay, I wonder which building we need to go in. And there's this tin hut, which Andy can put a picture in maybe of at some stage in his process. But there's a tin hut. And I'm like, what's the bets it's in there? It's definitely going to be in there. And so it ends up being in this, and we sit in this room with SpongeBob on the walls and have this conversation with Doug and Andy, who were the management director at the time. And, they were like, really like you, really like what you're about, but with nothing to offer you. And I needed paid employment because I was going to have a new child and going to be moving and studying and all this sort of stuff. And I needed a placement as well as a job. And so we kind of went back down to Dublin thinking, well, maybe this isn't going to happen. And long story short, I'm in the not long before I'm in the hospital, they called me back and said, come up and interview. So I came up and interviewed, and went back down, went to the hospital, got a phone call, and they said, oh, we need to interview one more person. I'm like, oh, I need to kind of know, because this is really kind of a pretty pivotal point in my life. And so a couple of days later, I found out that I was successful in the interview process, and we moved with a 5-week-old baby up to Belfast for me to start this course, for me to start this job in youth initiative. That's kind of my journey. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 5-week-old.
Yeah.
Your first child as well.
First child. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. That's mad. And just knocking doors, see what happens.
Absolutely.
Good. Cool. Good. So what were some of your first experience of youth initiatives then? So this is youth initiatives in Northern Ireland. You're walking through the door, new father, not sleeping. What kind of things do you first see, and particularly what do you like about it?
Yeah, I guess outside of the building, I guess my first thing was, you know what, it doesn't have that flashy vibe to it. So maybe you're in a youth work environment right now in different places of the world, and your youth work environment isn't flashy. But what I liked about that was it was just real. It was authentic, and actually it was the relationships and the friendships and that side of things that really, I suppose, appealed to me. And many, many years later of working for youth initiatives, that's what a lot of people keep coming back to. And they're saying, remember that old building, remember those times. And it was almost like a wish for simpler times, but it was that sense of just being genuinely real. And it was, don't get me wrong, it was I was a fish out of water at times, and there was days where I was like running one day into the next and just thinking like, did I make the right decision here? But I very much felt kind of like I was in the right place. And I was working mostly with 11 to 14s at that time, but I did do a number of crossover projects. And it was just fast flowing. There was lots of things going on and lots of things for me to learn. And I met some really, really great people along the journey as part of that. And I suppose that's some of my highlights are within those last nearly 12 years.
Yeah. So have you got maybe like a few highlights, kind of really profound moments or really funny moments, or a few things that you would say, right, these are sort of key funny things?
Yeah, it's hard to condense it down sometimes. And my memory. I suppose one of the ones I felt was really significant was we was with Debbie Byrne, who some people will know listening to this, and we had taken a group of young people down to a place in Dublin. It was an event called Urban Soul, and it was a mixture of like youth work and like practical service in the community.
Right.
And I remember it being a really, really significant time for me because it was the first proper time I kind of went away with a group of young people somewhere. And I got to work alongside a seasoned youth worker in Debbie Byrne. She hopefully won't mind me calling her seasoned. But it was one of my greatest memories, and an opportunity to bring young people from really diverse and different backgrounds on a socioeconomic level, but also just on a religious and political background and diverse. Dublin is extremely diverse as well in that sense. And so we got a chance to do that. And there were kids over from England and from Scotland and from all over. So that was probably one of my first real highlights. Another highlight, slightly more recent, was just the chance to lead our summer camp. So we run a summer camp every 2 years here in Northern Ireland, where all of our Northern Irish programs come together, and we run a week-long camp, or roughly a week. And a number of years ago, 2017, I took the chance to kind of just, I guess, lead it and stretch myself and challenge myself, and had some really, really great support from the staff, which made it a lot easier, because anybody knows when you're leading a big project, it can be really daunting. And so the team was so fantastic, and it for me was just memorable because it gave me an opportunity to just, I suppose, see things almost from like a helicopter view and see things that were happening, and see young people's lives being transformed, see people engage with people that they never have before. And I think that's one of the, I suppose, the joys of doing youth work is actually seeing a journey of a young person. So some of the young people that I would see in that camp, I would have met when they were 11, and they're like on the intern level or on the staff team or like helping on the service team as part of our summer camp and things like that. And so that side of things has just been such a joy to see. So
yeah, it's one of the things one of the privileges maybe of being in our position is just seeing people go from wherever they've come from, point A, beyond point A, wherever that takes them, and journeying with them alongside that. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, you have a particular, it seems to me that you've worked with a lot of the interns quite closely, and you tend to get, whether it's supervising them or they're in your project as you're supposed to give them something to do. That's quite a condensed, like intense period. How has that been to like see people come in one for a year at a time, work full time basically, and then go out the other end of it? How's that experience been for you?
Yeah, so I guess that's how we met you, Andy. One of the ways of meeting you was through an internship type program, and we have had people from all over the world come to work in youth initiatives and give a year of their life or sometimes longer. Some have stayed, and the majority of them have taken that year to learn, and it's been a joy and a privilege for the most part to journey with people in a short space of their life. And one of the real memorable years was for me. I was working on the NUTS program at the time. We had these two gappers called Kate Smith and Juan Carlos. Aragon, and I always joke that when I say some of the best interns that I know have come from Costa Rica, and I let them fight amongst themselves as to which Costa Rican I'm talking about. But for that particular year, it was just an opportunity to have kind of those close moments with those two. And we brought about some great creativity. There's a number of videos loosely somewhere in the ether of us just creating really memorable moments with those guys. And I think reflecting on those people, you don't know how long you're going to spend with people in their lives.
Yeah.
And so it's making that moment count.
Yeah.
Making that moment be significant. And allowing other people to touch you as well, because I just think, like, even in the internship level, it's often like, what are they getting out of it? But very much those moments and those years were very formative for me as well, as a leader and as a youth worker, and as a person.
Yeah. It was special, and it was special to have Kate, to work alongside Kate for that year. In particular, I guess she only got 24 years, and one of them was with us. So it's a real privilege. I'm getting emotional as you're saying that there, because it really is such a privilege to just get that time with these young people and whatever they're going to go on to do, and you don't know.
I think a lot of the time you just don't see it. That the one one thing with certain jobs is you kind of put a day's work in and you see your reward at the end. But with youth work, that's not always the case. You will often invest so much of yourself into somebody's life and never see a return. And then there are times where people come back and they volunteer for you many years later, and you're like, it's good to see people doing really, really well. And I've seen young people on my volunteer team right now. They're teachers, and they're giving up an evening to come and work with us, and that's really touching too.
Yeah, it's a privileged position. Good. So what has YI meant for your life? Obviously, you came in 2008 and you've stayed for 12 years at this point. So where are you because of youth initiatives, and where might you be without it?
My hair is still here, which is good. It's a little grayer, I must admit, but that has not been solely to do with youth initiatives and age and stage I find myself in. But it's been massively formative, Andy. It's both personally, from a perspective of it's challenged me about my beliefs or my values and people, and how I can influence those around me and allow other people, like we said in the previous question, to really impact us as well. And from a professional perspective, it's given me a chance to grow and to lead. And what might I be without it? I guess I would be sad. I think is a very short answer, but I do feel like I would have maybe missed an opportunity if I hadn't taken that step to move my family up here and journey for the last 12 years with youth initiatives and with the people in this area.
Good.
Could have been behind a desk. That would have been extremely boring, and I would have made me very unhappy.
Good. Well, writing new stories for your own life, journeying alongside others, writing the stories of their own life, and taking risks. Sounds like a good way to live. Good. Thank you, Alex. Last question: when are you coming to visit Scotland?
So, Andy, I was a little bit offended, and gutted to see that our Strive partners in Donegal got to come over to Scotland before our Strive guys in West did. So I was a little gutted by that, and I need to spring for a plane ticket once that makes sense to do so, and take in the kind of lovely Scottish scenery and the humour, and make our best effort to understand your accents, and probably vice versa in some cases. But yeah, I would absolutely love to.
Bring them over, come and visit us. That would be great. Well, the reason they got to come first is because they asked. So
he who asks,
the offence can go both ways. But thank you for your time, Alex. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for the work you're doing. Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
Keep at it.
Thank you, Andy. I wish you and your group all the best in the coming months and years as you branch out in Glasgow and further afield in Scotland, hopefully.
Yeah. See where we go. See where we are in 12 years' time. Thanks, Alex.
See you.